Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled Florida HOA Evicts Owner's Tenant, Changes Locks and Rents It Out. This is the story of Emma Hill, a woman that literally went through hell with her homeowners association. And by the way guys, obviously this is a true story, but I have changed some of the names just for anonymity's sake. Anyway, Emma Hill's home in Wesley Chapel, Florida is not foreclosed. She owns it and had rented it to a single mother of 5 children. According to a newspaper though, the Homeowners Association has been walking a tricky legal path that led it to evict the tenant after the mother would not pay her rent to the HOA instead of Hill. The association then moved in their own tenant and has been collecting the rent itself. "This is not a foreclosed house," Hill said. "This is still my house." A newspaper reported it all started when the Bridgewater Community Association imposed a lien on Hill in 2009, which she had not paid. Hill said she did miss one HOA payment of $225 after her mother died, which she is willing to pay, but the lien is for more than $2,000. The newspaper states the lien amounts include special assessments and other legal fees that include legal costs and a $500 rental fee. Hill states she and her husband tried to remedy the situation with the HOA president Mark Spector, but were thrown off his property. The original renter was later given 24 hours to leave the property. Hill was then informed by a neighbor when a U-Haul pulled up and a new renter moved in. "Taking possession of the property and renting the unit out, that part is not something afforded by the law," said Ben Wellsworth, a South Florida-based homeowner association lawyer. The association did persuade a judge to issue an eviction order for Hill's tenant and order a receiver appointed to manage the property. In Wellsworth's view, that doesn't make it right or legal, it is more a measure of how complicated the housing bust has grown. "Judges rely on what rights attorneys tell them their clients are afforded under the law," Wellsworth said. "If there is no attorney on the other side to argue that it is wrong, the judge most often takes the word of the attorney and grants the motion. Plus, these judges hearing these cases usually are not experts in real estate law. So, even while the eviction itself may be legal because Hill had not paid the lien, Wellsworth said this is not grounds to change locks or move in a new tenant." The newspaper states that Hill will be taking this case to court. Update to the story: Emma Hill left a Pasco County courtroom in tears on Wednesday, saying her HOA is out of control. "It's horrible," she said. Hill says the Bridgewater Neighborhood Homeowners Association changed the locks on her house, evicted the renters she had been living there, and the HOA president won't allow her inside. "He threatened us to be arrested anytime we come on the property and he has called the police," said Hill. Hill admits that she and her husband got behind on payments, but she says the HOA put a lien on the home without any notice. And before she knew it, they had taken over the house and put their own tenant in, all over $2,500. "We wanted to pay them. We have your money. They would not only not take it, they wouldn't talk to us." Wednesday, the Hills went to court to try and get their house back, but Bridgewater's attorney said the HOA followed state law. When the legislature was contemplating what to do with the situation where homeowners go for years without making a payment to an association, all the while collecting rent from tenants and forcing their neighbors who are paying their bills to absorb those expenses, it decided enough is enough, said attorney Geraldine Holloway. The judge agreed, leaving the HOA in control of the home, and Hill shocked about his decision. "It just sickens me. Every homeowner out there should be pissed off. They should be mad, and they should be mad and fight to change these laws because it is surreal that a HOA can take over someone's home," said Hill. Bridgewater's HOA president Mark Spector issued the following statement. The ruling today is a win for people in every community who live as compliant property owners. It is a victory for people who refuse to bow to those who do not pay their debts, while benefiting from the compliance and hard work of their neighbors. When the current members of the Bridgewater Community Association HOA began to guide the community, crime was rampant, residents felt unsafe, the climate was one of fear, and properties were in deep decline. Drugs were being dealt openly in a park where families were meant to play with their children, breaking and entering was common, and gangs were gathering. At that time, only 25% of residents were paying dues and complying with other HOA rules. Recognizing the difficult economic times, the HOA reduced dues by 50%. Today, 66% of members are paying dues and complying. More than 300 homes have been restored or improved through painting, landscaping, replacing or replenishing sod, pressure washing and cleaning oil stains. Homes are now selling. The Hill family says that they are not done trying to get their house back and will take more legal action soon. Update number 2 to the story: the Bridgewater Homeowners Association does not own the house Connie Hicks rented. But that did not stop the association from evicting Hicks, giving her 24 hours to pack up and leave. Now a new family lives there and they are paying $250 more a month in rent. What's more, the money is going to help pay off a lien the association filed against the homeowner. "It created a big mess for me," said Hicks, who lived there for 7 months. "I would not want any other renter to go through this." Hicks was shocked because she thought she did everything she was asked to by the association and by the courts. Still, she was booted from the house as part of Bridgewater's controversial legal strategy, first reported by a newspaper earlier this month, and now the subject of news coverage nationwide. The association's aggressive interpretation of Florida law has legal experts debating how much power a homeowners association has. One Bridgewater homeowner is taking her case. Connie Hicks says she was given 24 hours to leave the Wesley Chapel home she was renting. The notice came not from the landlord, but from the homeowners association. They went to court this week and the outcome could set legal precedents statewide. The association's president Mark Spector and its attorney Geraldine Holloway did not respond to requests for comment from a newspaper. Holloway did send a letter to Media General of Richmond, VA, which owns the newspaper and News Channel 8. The letter said the association's goal is to ensure that all owners in the community pay their share. It has no desire to dispossess owners and utilize the rent demand procedure when other collection efforts fail. Court records show that so far this year, the association tried to evict tenants in 6 houses. The association is using a Florida law that says an association can evict a tenant if the homeowner fails to pay association fees. Bridgewater goes through the legal process of evicting, but what happens next has some real estate attorneys and homeowners crying foul. The association asked the judge to appoint a receiver, an accountant who manages the property and rents it out to a new tenant. After expenses are paid, the money left over goes to the homeowners association. "The HOA cannot rent out a home it does not own," said South Florida attorney Gene Winters, who represents associations and homeowners alike. And the association cannot force the homeowner to rent their home. What would happen if they want to move back in? Hicks' case highlights how frustrating Bridgewater's legal strategy can be for tenants. Under Florida law, if a landlord faces a lien for unpaid fees, an association can require the tenant to pay rent to the association until the lien is satisfied. If the tenant refuses, the association can evict, but Hicks did pay and the association asked a judge to evict her anyway. Hicks said she received a letter from the Bridgewater Association in January 10th directing her to pay her rent to the association, but she said she had already paid rent for the month to her landlord. In such a case, Florida law says the tenant must submit a receipt to the court and then start paying the association. Hicks submitted her February rent to the court along with a receipt showing she already paid January rent to her landlord. However, the judge ruled Hicks should have deposited December and January rent with the court too and approved the eviction. In addition, Hicks' landlord Nixon Cheney said he tried to pay the association, but Cheney said the president and attorney would not return his calls or letters asking what he owed. Cheney said he missed a yearly $225 association fee and is willing to pay what he owes, but he questions the thousands of dollars the association billed him, mostly for attorney fees and late charges. Cheney's story is similar to Emma Hill's that you have heard before. The lien amount on Hill's home was $2,565. Hill does not fully understand the itemized accounting the association later provided her, but it appears to include special assessments imposed broadly in Bridgewater because so many homes are in foreclosure. Still, most of the lien appears to be fines and legal costs unique to Hill and a $500 rental fee. She said she had been keeping up with her annual homeowners association dues of $225, but she missed one payment when her mother died. She said she is willing to pay what she owes, but thinks the association is tacking on fees just to rack up her bill. "We did everything we thought was right to resolve this," Hill said. "I even went to Mr. Spector's house to try to resolve it. He threw me off his property. He threw my husband off his property." And yeah, Ripe Stars, that is unfortunately how the story of Mrs. Hicks and Mrs. Hill ends. I just found this story very interesting because for once it does not have a happy ending, and it does show the risks of buying a house in a homeowners association, not only in general, but specifically in Florida. HOAs there seem to be more crazy than usual, and I would really suggest you to do your homework before you decide to buy a house in a Florida homeowners association. Anyway, if you enjoy the stories about crazy HOAs, then I would really appreciate it if you could post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support my channel. Thank you so much in advance. The next one is titled, "Don't Ignore the Old Folks." This happened a few decades ago at a plant complex involved in national defense work. The existing contractor decided to leave when the contract expired and a new company came in. Of course, new company's manager came in with the attitude, "This place is a mess, we're going to run it our way, which is the only way." Needless to say, this attitude did not sit well with many of the old long-term employees. They knew their stuff quite well, especially the site-specific knowledge needed to keep the plant running. One of the things new company wanted to change early on were the standard operating procedures plant-wide because the written procedures inherited from old company did not comply with the style used by new company. To this end, they brought in a bunch of technical writers to rewrite the procedures the right way. However, none of them had any knowledge of the specifics regarding the procedures they were rewriting and had no access to the areas the procedures applied to, because they did not have any security clearances, which took 9 months to get them at the time. One of the most important procedures which was rewritten covered power outages in a production building handling some really hazardous stuff which required glove boxes, controlled air circulation patterns, massive HVAC air filtration, etc. When new company's tech writers finished the procedure, they handed it off to the building engineers, all of whom had at least 20 years experience, and scheduled a test of the system, simulating a power loss and bringing the emergency generators online to power the building. The old-timers looked the new revised procedure over and noticed some glaring errors. They notified their bosses at new company, only to be told that the procedure was fine as written and their input was unnecessary. When the test was run, it got to a point where the building engineers asked again, "Are you sure you want to do this?" and were told to comply with the new procedure to the letter. They did as they were told, and shortly afterwards there were some nasty sounds from the generators, a few scary electrical arcs, and the generators became a few tons worth of scrap metal. New company management was livid, looking everywhere for someone to blame. Not finding anyone, they decided that it was some sort of subtle sabotage on the part of the building engineers. So for the retest after the backup power system was rebuilt, at a cost of $1 million or so, they decided to post a new company manager at the elbow of every employee involved in the test to ensure that the procedure was followed exactly to the letter. The building engineers again expressed their misgivings but complied with their orders, as they had been given dire threats about what would happen to them if they deviated in any way from the procedure. Despite the micromanagement, the test had exactly the same outcome as the first one: dramatic arcs, bad noise, fried equipment, and another $1 million outlay to fix everything. The post-mortem on the second test established that the procedure had indeed been followed exactly, with no divergence from it anywhere. Faced with this, new company managers finally went back to the building engineers, whom they'd been blaming for the failures, to solicit their input. It seems that the core problem was that they had tried to tell new company managers at the outset. A critical step was omitted, one which specified that both generators had to have their output in phase with each other prior to bringing them online. Connecting a pair of multi-kilowatt 3-phase backup generators out of phase is guaranteed to be an expensive light show. The procedure was quietly rewritten with the input of the building engineers, and the third test went flawlessly. New company had all sorts of problems there due to their attitude. They chased out the experienced people who knew the what, why, how and when of the plant, and ended up begging many to come back as independent contractors who charged some exorbitant hourly rates. And the next one is a revenge story from Ask Reddit. A manager at a store I worked for a very short time was a stone-cold a-hole. He would make sure everyone else was doing their job and his. Then he would take credit for it all, and no one would stand up to him. I had just found a way better job and put in my 2 weeks. He was a huge douchebag the first week, and it did not look any better for the second. I was racking my brain how to serve up a hot plate of justice on this asshat, but the recipes did not sound right. But I had started telling the big boss the truth. Oh yeah, me and blank did all that work. Manager, is he here today? We have not seen him. And this was getting to him, but it was not tasty enough. Then on the episode of The Office with Todd Packer, Jim Jam's Dwight Drawers, and I knew I had found it. I cut 12 wooden L's and waited until the next day, unable to sleep. He disappeared for his hour-and-a-half lunch, and I got to work. Through a painstaking process of screwing the top of the L to the top of the drawer with a ratchet, I achieved victory. It worked perfectly so that you could barely get a pen out with 2 fingers. The floppy one was due back, and I ran around giving every staff member a pen and telling them the score. They hit all pens and we waited. He came in barking orders, and me knowing I had 2 days left, I stood there proudly and said, "Inventory is your job." "I will not do it," he said, threatening to write me up, and I said, "Then you will have to do double writing, because I won't write up inventory." He said I was being a dick and walked to the office. Ladies and gentlemen, I could not tell you how long that 15 seconds was, but I was more giddy than all the schoolgirls. I heard the door open, and then like a hammer to a nail. Whack, 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 whack. What is in these whack, whack, whack? And then the lower tone of the other desk, whack, whack, whack. What the F? Whack, whack, whack. You're kidding me. And he went back to his desk. He slams the door and walks out to us. Before he can say a word, I ask, "What is with the yelling and banging? We have customers out here. Hey, do you have a pen on you?" He says no, but his face looks like pure rage. Tasty. He walks around asking for a pen, but the trodden masses have united. Scrumptious, after asking every person, he comes back to me. Floppy one. "Did you find a pen?" Me. "I didn't know I was looking for a pen." F. "How does no one here have a pen?" Me. "Do you have a pen?" Floppy. "No, I've been looking for one for like an hour." Me. "That's productive." Death glare. Me. "I have a pen, and so does blank." We pull out the pens. "I'd give it to you, but this is mine, and if I give it to you, I will be as unprepared and unprofessional as you." F. "Are you serious? You knew I've been looking for one." Me. "I asked you for one?" With the look of hurt and betrayal on his face, my plate was almost clean. But there was dessert to be had. He had found a pen and blah blah blah. I took the desk blocks out. Dessert is best served cold. I went in a few weeks later and saw my old co-workers. They said he was nicer, but now he is even worse. I went to my car and reinstalled the blocks. This time I left a note just visible. "Do you have a pen?" It's a joke I never saw the punchline to, but makes me laugh just as hard. And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel, but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously, and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.